Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to Cody Brundage up against Rodolfo Vieira this weekend. Cody, great to see you. It seems to me, I mean, looking at his history, looking at his record, Rodolfo's coming for one thing and one thing only. He's going to try and submit you. Is that clear to you?
Yeah, I think so. I think his striking's a little bit underrated. Like I feel like he looked pretty good in that Chris Curtis fight. I think he kind of learned a tough lesson with Anthony Hernandez. You can't just come out and wrestle for your life and then try to get to a takedown because if you don't, you could really put yourself in a vulnerable position. So I expect that the long-term game plan for him for sure is to come take me down, find a submission, but I don't think he'll rush it. I don't think he's going to over pursue the wrestling. I think he probably isn't giving me the respect I think I deserve on the feet. So I want to be careful not to do the same to him. But I think he'll try to kind of point fight, do that karate style, and then eventually, as he gets a little more tired, maybe feels my power, find a takedown and look for the sub.
How pleased are you with your overall game? I mean, you train over there at Factory X Muay Thai, right? So do you feel you've evolved since we last saw you?
Yeah, definitely. I fought around like 5 months ago. I feel like there's been a lot of growth. I've only been a pro for like 4 years, so it's pretty young in the game to be at the level I'm at. So I feel like I've had a lot of growth. I feel like sometimes I don't do a great job of translating it. So like my teammates see me in the gym, they're like, "Man, why don't you just go fight like that?" And I'm like, "If it was only that easy." So I'm just hoping this fight that I can really translate it and kind of show everybody else what I feel like I already know.
Do you think Rodolfo will suffer under your striking? Is that your best path to victory here?
Yeah, I do. I think mixing in the takedowns, mixing in the wrestling is definitely gonna be huge. Just being intelligent when I do it because it makes the striking so much easier when you can get someone guessing on as to where you're gonna go. But I feel like a lot of guys don't respect my striking, and I feel like I have a lot of power that people don't respect either. So when I crack them, I feel like it is a surprise. I kind of saw that in the Treason Gore fight. I don't feel like he was really respecting my striking. He thought I was just gonna wrestle, and I was able to find his chin. So I definitely think that's a route to victory that I'm going to be looking for. I just have to mix it up. I can't be one dimensional. I can't just be a boxer. I can't just be a wrestler. I just have to really come with my full game. And I feel like that'll be hard for him to deal with.
Getting that bonus in the Gore fight, did that kind of spark something inside you? Because you're comparatively new to the UFC, but did that kind of excite you? Like, okay, let's try and add that gloss when we can.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like the bonus is definitely like a extra motivator, but I'm a really quick starter. I feel like all my fights, I look for the finish. That's just my style. I'm willing to put myself in the fire and take one to give one, so to speak. And I feel like that makes for entertaining fights. It makes for a lot of quick fights, but I feel like it's definitely the style to go get a bonus. And I don't ever go in there and be like, man, I gotta go out there and knock them out in a minute so I can get a bonus. But sometimes that's just how it works out because, like I said, I feel like I'm a fast starter. I'm willing to put myself in danger to kind of go find a finish, and a lot of people aren't willing to do that. So I feel like I have a style for bonuses, and I don't really want to. I don't need to think about it. I just need to go do it.
Your background, I mean, you've done wrestling, I think swimming, football. I feel like you could have gone into any sport. What was life like for you in high school? Were you just like athletics all the time? Did you know that one day that you were going to be a pro athlete?
I don't think I ever thought I'd be a pro athlete. I knew that I would work really. I was really a hard worker. I never felt like I was like the most talented person. I always felt like, okay, you got to work really hard and catch people because you don't have that natural talent. But sports were huge. I had four brothers growing up and a sister. My sister played college soccer. My brother plays college lacrosse. So it was a pretty competitive household. My mom was a competitive skier. So it was definitely a competitive household growing up. Sports were huge for me. And then I definitely never thought I'd go into fighting, like just where I'm from and like my background. I didn't have it super rough coming up. Sometimes that's like the story you hear. Like this is what I did. I fought all the time as a youngster and then it led to this. Like I was not that kid. I was not fighting all the time in the streets growing up. I did wrestling and that was probably the closest I got to fighting until I maybe got in college and got in a few scuffles there. But I was just a big fan of MMA. And once I got done with wrestling, I was like, where am I going to go? There's nothing that really kind of simulates wrestling other than wrestling and fighting. So my mom, I remember when I first got out of college, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm not an athlete anymore. She's like, well, go do CrossFit. And I was like, well, that's not for me. But I started doing this MMA thing, and my mom's like, why? That sounds like a terrible idea. But now they're all on board. It seems to have worked out. So yeah, I never really envisioned it, but I love it. It's my passion, and I feel fortunate to get to do it.
Who was the guy for you if you're an MMA fan? Was there a big influence at all?
I kind of was like, I was coming up and becoming a big fan. It sounds so cliche, but when Connor was like making his early run, when he was like the young, hungry kid, and he was super witty and funny with everything he said. And he was, I don't know if he was an inspiration, but he definitely was like, okay, this is the guy that like I want to watch, and he makes me want to watch the sport. And I don't, it was just a cool time to be an MMA fan. There were a lot of big names, like that's when John Jones was like really, he was being active quite a bit. And you had like GSP coming back to fight Michael Bisping, and Cody Garbrandt was beating legends. Like it was just a cool time to be an MMA fan. And so I really kind of got hooked there. And like I said, I never was like, oh, I could do this. I was just a big fan running like fight nights out of my college wrestling room, like making my teammates box, and they're like, we don't really want to do this. I'm like, just do it. It's like the UFC. We're doing UFC in college. But yeah, it was just a cool time to be a fan, and drew me to the sport. And then, getting to be here is like, I still sometimes I'm like, I was telling my buddy Colin Anglin, he flew out with me, he's one of my cornermen. I'm like, man, I really can't believe that we're doing this. That like this is the life we're living. So I feel super fortunate.
That's very cool. Yeah, I guess that's weird. The passing of time works like that. I mean, it feels like a minute ago McGregor was fighting Chad Mendes, but you would have been in high school probably. So that's so crazy, man.
It doesn't seem that long ago for
I
sure.
know. Yeah, 10 years ago, right? You would have been 18. So that's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Weird.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that clip that Brendan Fitzgerald shared talking to you about nerves. Like, I guess it's the same for anybody, like any high level industry when you go into it. Does it keep you sharp? How do you feel now before fight night? Like I wouldn't be able to sleep. So how do you deal with it? What's it like for you?
I feel like there's definitely nerves, but you kind of accept the nerves. Like my coach always says, like, don't fight your feelings. Whatever you're feeling is what you're supposed to be feeling. And I really think that that's true. And I have a lot of, I find a lot of confidence from the work that I've put in. And that kind of gives me peace. Like I don't have to worry about result, because whatever the result is, I did everything I could to be successful. And I don't have any doubts in that. So that kind of takes away like the negative anxiety. I work with a sports psych guy, and we kind of talked about that. And it's like, it's not that you're not supposed to feel anxiety. It's just like the negative anxiety that you feel, the less of that we can feel, the better. Like you're going to have anxiety, but let it be excitement, right? Like let it be, okay, you've worked really hard to get to this point, and now let's be excited to go perform. And there's still, there's still a little bit of negative, but we've definitely curbed it quite a bit. And I feel like most of the time I just feel excited, and I know I've put in the work. So, it's all good things. And then the other thing too is like just with my family and my daughter and some of the things I deal with there, like I just have better perspective. Losing a fight, other than my bank account, doesn't really change my life that much. You know what I mean? Like the people that believe in me are still going to believe in me. The people that love me still love me. My life isn't bad because I lost a fight. And same for when I win. My life isn't amazing just because I won a fight. So I think just having that perspective makes it easier to fight, and not be so stressed out.
Not everybody who fights in the UFC is fighting to be the world champion. Some people like fight for the money. Some people just love to fight. But when you look at Israel Adesanya, Alex Pereira, Robert Whittaker, are you sizing them up? Are you thinking, okay, 3 years time, they're going to be in front of me? How do you look at it?
Definitely like you want to be the champ. I don't know if I'm looking at those guys and sizing them up. Honestly, I'm looking at them and I'm a fan. Like I can't even lie. I watch their fights and like it's awesome to witness these guys and to feel like, oh, I'm a coworker with this person. Like that's super cool. And it feels so far off that like I would ever fight one of them. Like 3 years is a long time. Like Izzy's not a super young guy. He'll be what, like 38 in 3 years, 37 in 3 years. I'll only be 31. So I mean, it seems like I feel like, and I'm happy about that. I don't want to like be sizing them up, because like I said, it kind of takes away from the experience of being a fan. Like those guys there's not gonna be many guys that are as good as those guys coming through. So it's cool to witness. It's special to witness. And I feel like we're at different points, so far at different points in our career, that it would never be a thing. The guys that I'm sizing up are guys like Bo Nickel, the guys that like are around my age, my weight, that have a lot of clout behind them. Those are the guys that I'm looking at like, okay, we're going to be in the top 15 together. You're going to be a fight I'm going to have to take to win the belt. You're going to be a fight that I'm going to have to take to be a number one contender. So those are more the guys that I'm sizing up. The younger guys and the older guys, like I'm just a fan. Like they're super talented. I feel like they're vets, so you got to respect the vets. So yeah, I don't size them up, but yeah, down the line, maybe one day, you know, I'm looking at the guys in my division for sure.
How do you feel about Khamzat? Do you see him as a middleweight, and does he beat Paulo Costa? It seems like that's the fight they want to make.
Yeah, I think he's really, really talented. He's big. I've seen him in person. He's not a small guy. I think he would be fine. He's not going to be undersized at 185. I don't think he'll be the biggest 185 you've ever seen, but he's not going to be undersized. He has good power. I think his striking's super underrated. I think he has good power. He's fast. His wrestling is super elite. I think it's not a great fight for Paulo Costa, just because I think Paulo Costa can be drawn into a fight that's not necessarily his style. Like I feel like he'll have a game plan, get into the fight, and someone will make a face at him or someone will hit him hard, and the whole game plan goes out the window, and then it becomes like this ego match, you know. And I feel like Khamzat is not the guy to do that with, because I feel like he'll draw it out of him and get to his wrestling, and then that'll be problems, because no one's really wrestled Paulo. Like we haven't ever seen that, but Khamzat will, and I feel like I don't see anyone at 85, with the exception of maybe Bo Nickel and Robert Whitaker, that can really stop his wrestling. Because it's just that good. I really feel like he does a really good job, and he's super relentless. Like people really, I think it's underrated how being relentless can make you a dominant wrestler. Like I know really good wrestlers that I've seen transition from wrestling to MMA and not be good because they miss on one or two takedowns and then they stop shooting. Like he is going to chase the wrestling as long as it takes him to get it, and he will get it because he's talented enough to get it. I think that's a tough fight for Paulo, and I feel like if Khamzat wins that fight, he's got to be next probably for the belt. You know, I don't know who would, like. I guess they're going to do the winner of Duplessis and Whitaker. I don't really want to see Whitaker and Adesanya again. I feel like we've already seen it. I know the fights are close, but I don't really want to see it again. I'd rather see Duplessis versus Izzy. I don't think Duplessis can beat Whitaker. And I think when Duplessis loses to Whitaker, the UFC is gonna be like, okay, Whitaker can pretty much is gonna beat everyone, right? It's like the same thing as Max. So they're not gonna like serve Khamzat up to Whitaker and then be like, okay, we're gonna have this repeating, like he's beating all the challengers. He's gonna jump Whitaker and fight Izzy for the belt. I think is what'll happen. If I was a businessman, that's what I would do. I wouldn't make Khamzat fight a super tough fight with that he has a good chance of losing, to then fight the champ, because the alternative is he loses and then you get Izzy Rob 4 or 5 or 6, whatever we're gonna do. Like, you got to kind of have that number one contender start getting jumped, I think.
It's kind of a fascinating picture, actually. It's quite fun. I think the narrative is that like Rob outclasses Dricus, but definitely that Africa beef and narrative is an exciting one if he gets past him. So let's see what happens. I'm excited.
Yeah, and he can only use 8% of his oxygen. Don't forget. He only can use 8% of the oxygen, I guess, in the world.
I'm not a scientist, but yeah. We're going to wrap up with a little quick fire, if that's all right with you, about some of your UFC colleagues. So who's the hardest hitter pound for pound in the UFC?
Hardest hitter pound for pound. I'm going to go with, Pavlich.
Best wrestler?
Best wrestler. Bo Nickel.
Who's the funniest?
The funniest is Jonathan Martinez, and no one knows it, but he's the funniest in the UFC.
Who's the most annoying?
The most annoying fighter in the UFC. Also, Bo Nickel.
Who is the best looking?
The best looking fighter in the UFC. Dustin Jacoby. Gotta be.
Who is the best dressed?
The best dressed fighter in the UFC is Michael Chandler.
Interesting. It's the first vote, I think, for Iron Mike.
He's got good swag, I think. Him and Poirier both, they dress pretty nice. I mean, obviously you got McGregor, but I forget about him because he hadn't fought in forever, you know.
Who'd you most like to have dinner with?
Most like to have dinner with. All my team at Factory X, Brandon Royval, we all go to dinner. It's a good time. So every UFC fighter at Factory X, I'm having dinner with them.
Who has the coolest tattoos?
The coolest tattoos, myself or Brandon Royval.
Who has the best fight IQ?
The best fight IQ. John Jones.
A lot of people say John Jones. Rightly
I would say
so.
him or Henry Cejudo. Henry Cejudo is a close second, I think.
Interesting. Who has the best hands?
The best hands. Who's got the best hands? I'm trying to think. Maybe Max Holloway, for sure.
Who would you most like to go get drunk with or go on a night out with?
Go get drunk with? Dustin Jacoby, Jonathan Martinez. Done it, had a good time, so I'll just stick to them.
Who's the most interesting female fighter?
Molly McCann. That's my homie. Love Molly, so give her the love.
She's cool. And who would you most want by your side in a street fight?
Most want by my side in a street fight? Dustin Jacoby, Anthony Smith. Those guys are some dogs, so I'll take them.
And finally, who would be your dream fight in any weight class, past or present?
Tito Ortiz, for sure. But like not like Tito in his prime, like Tito now versus me. We gotta hedge our bets, bro. We gotta hedge our bets.
You're gonna end up fighting him in 10 years in bare knuckle when he's like 55.
That's right. When his political run's over, we'll run it.
Nice, mate. Great talking to you, Cody. Hope to do it again in the future. Good luck, man. Cheers.
Yeah, brother. Thanks for having me.